Welcome. We'd like to look into a math problem, very interesting one. So let's get started. So if x and y are two positive integers and x plus xy plus y is 64, find the value of x plus y. I'd urge you to pause the video here, try and solve the problem. And after you've given a fair amount of time, about 5 to 10 minutes, trying to see if you can solve the problem, then you can go ahead and look at the rest of the video. Okay, welcome back. I hope you were able to try and solve the problem. If you got the answer, fantastic. If not, let's try and understand how one would approach a problem like this. So this very problem can be in a different form as well. What we saw so far is the abstract version of it. We could also be looking at it in a more worded format, something which says that the sum of the sum and the product of two positive integers is 64. Find the sum of the two numbers. So the first thing is to look at the equation and see if there is something common in that. In other words, you try and factorize it. So if I take the first two terms, x and x plus y, what's common? X is the term that's common between those two. So if I can factorize it by extracting x out, what I'll be left with is 1 plus y. So the same equation can be rewritten as x times 1 plus y is equal to 64. So we take this further. The answer seems to lie in factorization. So we need to factorize again, but this time do it more creatively. So look at what's common between the first term now on the left and y. And you might see that there's nothing common between them except for the y, but of course they're not the same term. So that's where the creativity comes in, where you say, okay, how can I make it common? You can make it common by adding 1 to both left-hand side and right-hand side of the equation. So now you have a common term, which is 1 plus y, and what you're left with is x plus 1. And the product of these two terms is going to be equal to 64 plus 1, which is 65. Now let's get back to the question. The question specifically says x and y are integers, which means that x plus 1 and y plus 1 are also integers. So when I say x plus 1 times y plus 1 is 65, it means that the product of two integers is 65, right? So that's the key point. The product of two integers is 65. Now let's look at 65 as a number. Let's factorize 65. And the factors of 65 is 1, 5, 13, and 65. So the two terms on the left can be either 1 times 65 or 5 times 13. Now let's take each case individually. In the very first one, which is what if x plus 1 times y plus 1 is the same as 1 times 65? Is that possible? Let's go deeper. If x plus 1 is 1, then what does it make x? It makes x as 0. In that case, it goes against the question statement that says x and y are both positive integers. Therefore, this cannot be the answer. So the second case, which specifically says that 5 times 13 is also 65, is totally possible. So x plus 1 times y plus 1 is 65, which means x plus 1 could be 5 or 13 and y plus 1 could be 5 or 13. Now, instead of individually looking at each one of them, we can use the commutative property of math, of algebraic expressions, and say x plus 1 plus y plus 1 should be 5 plus 13. Now it doesn't matter whether x is the one that's causing, taking you to 5, or y plus 1 is taking you to 13. It just doesn't matter, because when we sum them up, we get this value. So x plus y plus 2, combining the terms, is going to be equal to 18, or x plus y is going to be equal to 16. So that's the answer to the question. I hope you found this video useful in learning how to solve problems of this nature. Stay tuned, and we shall have more videos for you to help you understand how to build the skills needed to solve technical problems. Thank you.